Hey, hey, hey,
We are live.
Jerry.
Jamil, man.
How you doing, bro?
Good. I'm in Montana. You're in Phoenix.
I'm in Phoenix. Yeah, long time no talk. Last time we were together, we were in Kalispell.
Yep.
We did that awesome series
Community camp.
on working with agents. Community camp was so fun. I had a great time with you, and I miss you, dude. But I
We're going to be hanging
also,
out next week.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, we're doing a
What
trip up to Phoenix, so I'm excited to see you and spend some time with you.
I'm really excited for us to have our wholesale hotline meetup on Monday night
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's going to be cool. We're going to have a bunch of people out in that parking lot over there at the wholesale hotline studio. And we got a taco truck. There's going to be people. We're going to shoot a new intro video because if you guys haven't noticed the intro video to wholesale hotline, my beard is black and I'm fat.
Well, that's
And
like 4 or 5 years ago, isn't it?
it's taken, yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so it's been a hot minute since we shot that. And you're not even in the intro because Jerry is a newer addition to
Yeah.
the crew. And so we want to redo that whole thing with the four of us now. And so yeah, if you guys are in Phoenix or have plans to come to Phoenix or are in or want to come to Phoenix, we're gonna do that.
That's next Monday, a week from, well, this coming Monday from this live. Yep.
Yeah. So a week from now. But I'm super excited about what we got going on in Puerto Rico. I mean, you and I are going to be putting on an agent masterclass live, where we're going to be helping folks really, really get their agent outreach dialed in. And we're talking, Jerry and I, like over your shoulder, coaching you,
Whispering in your ear,
feeding you the lines as you do it, which I think is, I mean, you can't really get that anywhere. It's not, and I don't even offer it in my community. It would be impossible to do in a big group setting. So I think this is going to be just so fun.
And it's different than content. Like you and I, we put together that 6 video series. This will be the 7th video that we'll put in that playlist. But, we can only break down so much, and we're given the theory and we're given the, it's really good, but it's different when you're in a multi-day setting and you're on the phones and you're talking to real agents and we're right there and we can break it down. We can talk about it. We can give ideas. It's way more powerful than any type of training or content that you can go through to do it live.
Right.
So, yeah. So, guys, it's jerryandjamil.com to register and come to that. It is in Puerto Rico at my hotel. Jamil's going to be coming, I think, for about a week. And we're going to be we have a bonus day where you and I are going to be doing content that you can come and be in the audience for that. And we're going to do some fun stuff. And, man, it's going to be really cool. I'm so excited.
What can I expect will be the best food that we'll eat the entire week? Iguana?
Well, iguana tacos. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, your hotel has like a full service restaurant and everything in it, right? Like you guys it's a beautiful hotel.
Yeah, it's really nice. And it's in a prime location, so you can get close to anything. And we normally cater in food. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be very intimate, very small group setting. You and I wanted this to intentionally be very hands-on. Like there's no name tags. It's not like that. This is us getting together, round robin, circle, and really breaking this down. And what's exciting about this is, like we talked about in our masterclass, guys, if you do this right, this is $1 million business model. It's not just like, hey, let me see if I can add a deal here or there into my pipeline, right? This can be the end all be all if you do this at a high level. So it's a big deal.
Now, we had recently released the agent outreach video series that you and I recorded, and there were some questions that people had. And so Jerry and I wanted to answer some of those questions. And then also we thought maybe we could bring some of you guys up if you have any questions about the retreat or any other questions about agent outreach. And so that's what Jerry and I are doing on this live today. So thank you guys for joining us and being a part of it. Jerry, do you have, by chance, some of those questions from the YouTube videos?
And thank you to Bobby. He compiled, what he did is he went through, Jamil, those 6 videos we did, and he basically made a huge list of like all the questions. Now, we tried to get to a lot of them, so we did answer as many of those as we could. But I think here live, this would be great to go over some of these. Some of them are not relevant, which is normal on YouTube, and some of them are really awesome questions. So yeah, I've got a list here. We can just sort of scroll through these, Jamil, and bring these up, talk about them. And guys, if you're here live, put those in the comments, and we'll be trying to pay attention to that as well. And maybe we can stop and grab one out of there too, here and there, Jamil, if that makes sense.
Awesome, absolutely. And
Yeah.
Bobby will put those up on the screen for us. If you guys put your agent outreach questions in the chat as well. So agent outreach Q&A, guys, Jerry and Jamil, I think we're probably we're the 2 best at this business model, going direct to agent. Jerry's made millions of dollars going direct to agent. I make millions of dollars going direct to agent. And the beautiful part about it, it's the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's like herpes. You'll Jerry's like, come on, Jamil.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny, Jamil, is when we did our series, you like to use a lot of analogies, and a lot of the analogies you were using were like dating analogies.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
I know, because you haven't dated. You got like that is. It gets lost on me, right? Because I forget that, like, you've been with Anne-Marie so long, and you have, 10 kids, and just like they were lost. And I'm looking at Jerry like, you know what I mean, right, Jerry? And he's like,
no clue what you're talking about.
No clue what you're saying.
Oh, funny.
Oh, dude, that's so great. All right, so yeah, let's get to some questions.
Okay, let's get right to it. So, Jamil, this is a great one here. Let's start out with this one. This is from Wayne King 518. He said, I had an agent tell me that if he did business with me, I could only work with him and no other agent. For me, that was like a red flag. Wasn't really feeling that. What's your take on something like that?
Oh, look, we got Pacer in the chat too, man.
Come on, no way.
Yeah, what's up, Pace Dog? That's our guy right there. What's up? What's up, Morby? What's up, Mr. Moby? We love you, bro. So what the agent was talking about in this thing is an exclusive buyer broker relationship, right? And so first and foremost, that's not a necessity. That agent is trying to trap you into an exclusive buyer broker agreement, which really isn't ethical. The reality is that a real estate agent has options on how you work with them. They don't have to be exclusive agreements. In fact, the way that, because I work with so many real estate agents, I can't even have an exclusive buyer broker relationship or agency relationship with a real estate agents, because I'd be breaking it the moment I signed it, because I'm constantly working with dozens of real estate agents, right? So what I would say in that instance is, when somebody says to you that you can't work with somebody else, say, actually, what you can do, Mr. or Miss Agent, is what's called a non-exclusive or a property-specific buyer agency agreement or buyer broker agreement with me. And that means whenever you bring me a property, I'm happy to have an exclusive agency relationship with you for that specific property. But I can't give you one for an amount of time, or I can't give you a blanket agency relationship with me, because it just doesn't make sense for me to do that. I do too much business with real estate agents to just be exclusive with you. So that's how I would approach that.
Yeah. And to add to that, guys, it's important you understand why. Why is that so important? And the reason why that's so important is because we want to work with individual agents on their particular listings and leads with sellers, right? So when an agent brings you a lead, maybe it's a seller they're doing a listing appointment with, if it's off market, or maybe it's a listed property, we want to be able to create a competitive advantage by not having buyer representation and offering that buyer representation to that listing agent on their particular listing or lead.
Right.
Okay. And that's that we call that a way. It's a way in the marketplace for you to create a competitive advantage. And ultimately, we're looking at building these long-term relationships. So if agents know, every time I get a good opportunity and I call Jamil, I know that we've got a pre-established relationship where he's not working with somebody else. He'll work with me specifically and exclusively on my leads, on my deals.
Correct.
So that's why that's important. So you just need to have the vernacular, right? You need to be able to explain, what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay. So that's an awesome one.
Absolutely. Hey, somebody just made a great point. Well, Pace was just in our comments. Was he watching us in the shower?
There's a high probability he was.
Is Laura with him too?
No.
Oh my God.
Man, anything goes on wholesale. This is a reference from Wholesale Hotline. Anything goes on Wholesale Hotline. There's no filters on Wholesale Hotline.
No. It's so
just
good.
So you guys know, if you weren't on Wholesale Hotline, Pace was explaining how him and Laura listened to Jerry doing seller calls in the shower.
Yep.
You take that for what it's worth.
And
I don't quite know.
Can I also say something? I went to their house for dinner right afterwards.
You saw him in the shower?
No, she confirmed it.
Oh, so it's not just Pace being funny.
She legit said, I really like Jerry's videos, but I especially like it when Jerry does his seller calls. Like, she's like, I just think they're really good, and he's great. And so she confirmed it, and I'm like, okay, wow. Is there anything?
I don't know what to make out of that, but you guys do with that as you want.
You want to hear something even worse, bro?
Right.
I got a little jealous. I was like, wait, hold on. So what do you is there anything you listen to of mine in the shower when you guys are together? Like, do you guys watch my ads in the shower together? Is there anything of mine that you guys watch in the shower together? Or am I just completely left out of the shower with you guys?
Maybe not in the shower. I don't know.
So yeah, I guess it's just Jerry they like, not Jerry, not Jamil. So dang it.
Maybe they could try it out and see what happens.
Right?
Okay, Jamil, this is one for you. This is a good question for you, because this is very specific to a strategy that you do really well. I do this sometimes. You do it really well. And that's where you offer an agent a piece of the action later on, right? When you do the wholesale.
Yep.
And you talked about this pretty well in the series, but Robert Hasty, who's awesome. Robert's very active in I know your community and your channel and mine as well. But he said, so Jamil is paying strictly 50% of assignment as commission, not 50% plus 3%. So I think the question is there, are they getting the front end and the back end, or just the back end?
Well, great question. So what is happening in those deals specifically is I have a different relationship, or a different agency relationship with the realtor. So what I'll say to them is, look, and this is when the realtor's representing me, right? So if my agent is going out and calling it expired listings, what she'll do, or if she's calling probates or whatever, she'll approach a homeowner and say, I have a buyer who wants to give you a cash offer, and you don't need to pay me any commissions. He will pay my commission. So our offer to you will be a net offer to you. So the seller isn't paying them a 3% commission, because she's offering to do a net transaction for the seller. Now, instead of doing a 3% listing commission with me, what she'll do is she'll say, okay, I know that you're going to sell this for more than 3%. My half would be more than 3%. So go and do your best to sell this for as much as you can, and then I'll take 50% of your assignment fee. So we have a level of trust built up with each other where I don't do a commission instruction with her or a commission agreement with her until after I assign the property. Then she sends me the commission agreement, and I sign off on the commission agreement being half of the assignment fee.
Yeah, I hope that makes sense, guys. I think, Jamil, the point here, though, is what you're really trying to do here is just create more of a compensation model to get those agents excited to bring you their leads, right? Like, that's correct. The point. I think there's lots of different ways you can structure it. For example, one way that I'm doing it now, Jamil, with the new commission structure is I'll tell the agent, look, when you sit down with a seller on a listing appointment, rather than talk to that seller about a commission, tell the seller, look, I work with an investor. He's all cash. If the number works for you and we put a deal together, he'll cover my commission completely. You don't even have to worry about it. So it gives them a value add with the seller. And then me and that agent might just negotiate whatever that looks like on the front end. Or maybe we say, hey, look, I'm going to probably assign this one. You want to do a 50-50 on the back end? Like, what do we want to do here? And so it's just keeping that door open to talk about compensating those agents way more than just 3%. It might be 10%. It might be half of your wholesale fee. The point here, guys, though, is think about a way to where you can create a strategic relationship where that agent is making way more money working with you than they would just doing listings and buyer's agent agreements.
100% agree. Yeah. Anytime that you can help anytime you can help an agent make more than 3%, they're going to love you. But if you can make an agent more than 6%, that means that they're getting more than if they were representing both buyer and the seller. Like I routinely have deals with Monique where she's making 10%.
Yeah.
And she's just like, dude, I would need to sell $1 million property or a $2 million property to make the amount of money on this deal as I'm making with you on this little tiny, junker house.
Honestly, at 10%, she would have to do 3 of that one deal at the same price point, 3 of those. That would be 9%, right? And she's making 10 on one.
Right.
So that's the point, guys. You gotta, and the thing about this is Jamil, that video number 6, I think it was the last one we did where we broke down that call I did. The agent said, I really don't run into a lot of distressed properties. Now, that was before she caught the vision.
Right.
So when you do the vision casting then she was like, well, wait a second. I'm in East Point, Michigan. I'm near Detroit. I'm actually in an area where there's lots of distressed properties and the light bulb's going off. Like, she's going, man, I actually have a lot of this opportunity. I just was passing up on it because I didn't really know how to handle it.
Yeah. So and now think about that. Yeah. And she's thinking about ways that she could go out and prospect for you as the customer. Right. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to go prospect. Now look at this. Say she's successful in that prospecting. Wouldn't Jerry be open to then, if he starts to see that she's super committed and she's doing a good job, wouldn't Jerry be open to maybe putting a little bit of dollars behind that? For example, right now with Monique, what I do with her, I pay for her to mail the probate list. All the brand new probates that come up in Maricopa County, she sends them a piece of direct mail. It's the only time that I ever believe in direct mail is on probates, and not because it's like this beautiful, like it's not going to create a bunch of inbound calls. What she does is she mails them a letter in a blue envelope, and I'm actually going to bring that letter to Puerto Rico.
Oh, let's go.
So it's only going to be for the people who come to Jerry and Jamil's masterclass in Puerto Rico. But this letter, guys, it is absolutely magical. Because of that letter, and that, how how much I spend a month in that marketing, Jerry? Like
how much?
$380 to like $450 a month just on the mail. Do you want to know what the ROI is?
Oh my gosh.
It's between we on minimum will make $60,000 to $80,000 from one of those mail drops. So that's, the ROI on that is just phenomenal. And that letter that she sends, it's like, it's gold. It's gold, because that letter, now they open it, they read it, and they see, oh, these are all the ways that I'm not going to say too much. They read the letter and they're like, I need to hear from this person. And then Monique follows it up with a call. And then we're in like Flynn. We get the deal, we get it under contract, and that relationship is solidified. We take it right through to the close. Monique and I share the assignment 50-50. And that's a big bulk of our business.
That's a fantastic idea, Jamil. What a win-win for everybody to participate in the marketing with that agent.
Right.
Now, one thing that you explained really well in the videos we did was that it's probably not a good idea to have this JV relationship with your agent until after you've done your first successful transaction.
Correct. Yeah, and because you don't want to start pitching this in a cold relationship or before you guys have made money together, because they're not going to really understand it, right? So,
is there a dating analogy for that?
There absolutely is, right? It's like, if I say, I feel like when we go halvesies, that means we're like married, right? We're moving in together. And so that's going halvesies. And that's what I do with Monique. Her and I go halvesies. But I'm not going to like offer halvesies on, the first date, right?
Yeah.
That's coming on too strong.
Yeah.
She's going to think there's something wrong with this guy. Like this guy took me out to dinner on the first date. He said, "You want to move in and go halvesies?"
It's not going to go down very well.
It's not gonna play well, right? So
it's the wrong timing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sharon said, is there a dating analogy for that? So yeah, it's like, you do wanna offer to make this a thing and go halvesies, but you got to build that relationship a little bit slow. And so after the first deal, after you've already, scored once, made some money,
wait a minute, I'm thinking of one, Jamil. First enter bases, like first get to first base first.
Yeah, here's what I would say. You want to hit one run first before you try for a grand slam.
That's good. Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
So guys, keep that in mind. You want to transact a deal first, then you can sit down and have that conversation about, doing more deals, more in a JV type of situation. I thought there was a great question in here, Jamil, from Jasmine in the comments that said, is that done on a JV agreement or as a commission? And it's important that you guys understand that agents have to get paid through a commission structure. Because by law, with their license, that's how they have to do that. So we call it a JV. We're just meaning that you're partnering with them on the deal. But the way that will work mechanically is it will go to them as a commission, right? Isn't that
Correct.
Right, Jamil?
Absolutely, yeah. An agent will never be able to use any of your agreements, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not going to be able to ever use your purchase and sale agreement. They're not going to be able to use a JV agreement. They've got to use board approved contracts, which is actually good for us as wholesalers, because a lot of times we're not that great at filling out paperwork. Let's just be honest, right? So we take too long sometimes to get the contract done, or not all of us have DocuSign accounts, whatever that is. The reality is when you're working with direct to agent, they create the contract. They send you the contract for signatures. They send the contract to the seller for signatures. They're the ones who handle all the paperwork, which I love. Because guess what? I don't need them.
We have to add that to like the list of why agent model is so good. I forgot about that. You don't have to worry about paperwork. They handle all of that.
Built-in transaction coordinating.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's so amazing. Right?
Even if you're good at paperwork, just the fact that you don't have to do it and you just open your inbox and there it is. I mean, that's amazing.
Right?
I love this one, Jamil. Another question here. Pull this one up, Bobby. It's Fred Rogers. And he says, so is the double dip strategy illegal in Texas? And I get this one all the time. There are certain states that don't allow dual agency. We call it double dip, but the technical definition of that or term is dual agency. And dual agency is when one agent represents both parties. So you have Texas, you have Florida. Those are two big markets that don't do dual agency. And there's other ones. And then you have certain brokerages that maybe take a stance where, hey, in our brokerage, we don't want to do that. It's a gray area. We don't feel comfortable with it.
So would you say that the double dip strategy, in terms of a dating analogy, would that be like having an open relationship, Jerry?
Like swinging?
No, it's like open, like, maybe not swinging, but like, it's just open. Like, I work with you, I work with him. I work, I'm working with everybody.
Is that a dating thing? Can you do that?
I think so. I think that's a thing these days. That's the thing the kids are doing these days. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Okay. Just checking. All right. Anyway,
well, but the thing to keep in mind here with this is the concept is the same no matter where. So like, let's take Texas, for example. Technically, it might not be dual agency, but there's other ways they could do it. They could do designated agency where somebody else in the same office writes it. And then those two agents work out a deal together. It could be a transaction broker, they call it, where the agent decides not to represent either party and they take a neutral stance. Don't you worry about how the agent's going to structure it on their end. Just offer it. Maybe they eliminate it altogether. Who knows? There's so many different ways that the agent can structure it. The point here is just offer it. Let the agent decide how they want to do that. And if they want to do it, some won't do it. They just don't want any part of it. In fact, that deal that we broke down, Jamil, on that call I did, that agent decided to just eliminate the buyer agent altogether. And she still represented my side. At the end of the day, she still sent me the offer. She coordinated everything. She did the paperwork, all of it, even though she wasn't actually representing me as the buyer.
Right.
So
right.
Don't get hung up on dual agency and can we do this? You'll find that we're doing this a lot in Texas. We're doing it a lot in Florida and everywhere else. Just let the agent will know how to do it on their end.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Next question here. Yeah, so this goes right along with that. This is official Kevin Cortina. So if an agent becomes the transaction broker, which we just talked about in a deal, do you still sign their purchase and sale agreement? Yeah. So you still would have that agent do all the same things. Nothing changes on your end. So that's a great question there.
Yep.
Okay, this question's about the non-exclusive. We talked about that, so I think we hit that one. Let's see. Ooh, Jamil, what do you think about this? I propose a new book by Jerry and Jamil, The Agent Whisperer, How to Master Agent Outreach. I know I'd buy it.
I think we should write that, Jerry.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we
could crush that book, and we could also we could write that book, and then we could insert dating analogies throughout the whole thing, so that it could be really funny while you were learning how to do this.
Maybe you bring up the dating analogies and I'll bring like parenting analogies.
Perfect. It's like you get this spectrum. Because Jerry's wholesome, right? Let's be straight, guys.
You have a lot of young wholesalers that are in the dating scene.
Yeah. Jerry's super wholesome and I'm a weirdo, right? And so you get the best of both worlds here.
There's no analogy that'll go over your head. We'll cover it.
No, Jamil's a weirdo.
Okay, so Jamil, here's a good one. In a wholesale deal, can't you have the buyer pay the EMD at the end of inspection period?
Yep.
Let's talk about that one.
I've done that. Back in the day when I was, didn't have a lot of cash on me and I wanted to, have EMD funded by my buyer, I could absolutely do that. I would say, and here's how I would explain it to the agent so that they didn't get like super weirded out by it. I would say, look, I do a lot of projects. I'm doing a lot of deals right now, and I hate tying up, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars of EMD until I know I'm actually going to move forward with a deal. So how about we just have the earnest money be due at the end of the inspection period, and then it'll be immediately non-refundable. And they're like, oh, yeah, no problem. Because either it doesn't look, the reality is that if I put the EMD in into the title company right now, it's still refundable up until my contingency period is over. And so it doesn't even need to be there. Because the moment I cancel, I get the EMD back. So all I'm saying is let's just skip the shenanigans. Let's just skip the wasted check. Let's just skip the wasted time. I'll make the earnest money immediately non-refundable at the end of the inspection period. That's when we know we're going to be moving forward with the purchase. And so that makes the most sense. And for the most part, agents go for it. Now, occasionally you're going to get an agent who's going to feel a little way about that because they're going to say, well, I don't know if my broker is going to be okay with it, or I think you need to have money in consideration in order for this to be a valid contract, which is technically true, right? So it's technically not a consummated contract until consideration has been paid. And so if the agent pushes back on you for that, then what you can also say is, okay, how about we make the EMD due in, say, 72 hours after contract acceptance? That way you get 3 days to market the contract so you can get a really good, solid idea as to if you're going to have a potential buyer on this thing. And then you can decide if you want to cut the check and put the EMD out. What are your thoughts about that, Jer?
Yeah, this would be like, Jamil, when your kid says, hey, can I buy the toy at the store and I'll pay you when I get home. I'll pay you later when I get home. Right. So as a dad, you might be like, yeah, right. You little sucker. You think I'm born yesterday? I was born at night, but I was born in the dark, but it wasn't last night, you know?
Yeah.
So some agents are going to feel leery about that, right?
Yep.
I'm sure there's a dating one for that too, Jamil.
They are. They're gonna feel a little bit strange. It's kind of like if you're out on a date and you're like, "Oh, I forgot my wallet. Can you get it this time?"
And I'll pay you back.
Yeah, I'll pay you back.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So you are going to have some pushback on that. I'll tell you a real quick trick I do almost every time is I say, yeah, about the EMD. Like I don't mention, hey, I want to pay it at the end of inspection. I just say let's say I've got a 10-day inspection and then earnest money of $1,000 is due. I just won't do anything and see what happens. And
I've done that too.
And then I would say probably 7 out of 10 times, nobody says a word.
Nobody says a word. Yeah. Yeah.
And then every once in a while, or you'll get like day 5 and the agent will say, hey, so I don't know if that earnest money got turned in. And you'd be like, oh,
shoot. Oh yeah. Let me figure that out. God, are you sure? Hold on. Let me
talk with my bookkeeper. That should have got sent in. Yeah. But the idea behind this is you end up getting your cash buyer to then fund the earnest money once you get your cash buyer. So what you're doing is you're stalling out a few days, you're working your deal, you're getting your buyer, you're requiring non-refundable from your buyer. And when they submit their earnest money, you're using that earnest money to qualify for your earnest money. That's right. The idea behind stalling it or making it at the end of inspection to get away from you having to fund it. Now, keep in mind, guys, earnest money is a good faith deposit. It shows the seller that you're serious about the deal. It is refundable until all contingencies in the contract are met. Once all contingencies are met, it goes non-refundable. So it's your job to protect that earnest money. I've had people not do a good job at that, and then all of a sudden their contract goes hard, and then they can't perform on the contract, and they lose their earnest money.
Yep.
So you want to be protective of your earnest money. Make sure you're careful about that. And then this is the other question we get often, Jamil. I think
you don't want to go hard and not perform.
That you don't want to do either. It doesn't matter if it's $500. You definitely don't want to do that. But keep in mind, if you're wholesaling, that earnest money gets refunded to you at closing.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like you're paying it and you don't get it back. You get it back. So you're really just floating that money. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to put that money down and lose it. No, you get it back when you wholesale the deal.
That's it. No, you didn't get there. Like Jerry didn't catch the last
one.
Right.
I missed it. What'd you say?
Yeah, I said you don't want to get hard and not perform.
Okay, now that one I do know, Jamil. That's not necessarily a dating one. That's yeah, that did go right over my head though.
Poor guy. Oh, Jerry, he's so innocent.
Oh man. Okay. Let's do this one here. This one's next one down there, Bobby. It's a couple of questions. When you talk with agents or seller about buying as is condition, what if you find out while inspection that there is a sewer problem? Do you go back and negotiate the price, or you add to your rehab? And then this might be a follow-up. When you open escrow and send EMD, that's a different one. We'll get to that one. But
yeah.
But so the real question here, Jamil, is what happens if you find stuff out during your due diligence?
Ooh, that's yum, 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 yum. I love that. That's why for me, I always get an inspection done on every contract that I put under any house I put under contract. I get an inspection done. I have a deal with an inspector, so I pay like $200 for a property inspection. I don't pay like $600-700 like retail people do. So I pay $200 for my property inspection, and he gives me kind of a shortened list, like a shortened report. It's not the full report, but it's just like all the major things, right? And so that is an incredible opportunity for you to renegotiate. Now, here's the thing about renegotiations. This is where I see a lot of newbies get it wrong. Okay. If you are renegotiating before you have a buyer in, know this, that when you renegotiate, and if they agree to your renegotiation, you're stuck, because they're going to send you a BINSR, or they're going to send you a document that's going to say, okay, we've talked about the sewer condition. The buyer and the seller have agreed to reduce the purchase price by $20,000 or whatever. And then they're removing all contingencies, and now you're stuck. And so don't then go and try to find a buyer for the property, because now you're going to be in a situation where you're non-contingent. You have a hard contract now. Your EMD is non-refundable, and you're not going to be able to back out of that without, breaching the contract and really causing some grief. So I do not recommend renegotiating until you have a buyer locked in, unless you can close on the property yourself. If you can close on the property yourself, then renegotiate as much as you want. But otherwise, and here's another thing I've seen people make a mistake doing in a renegotiation. So they'll talk to a buyer, and their buyer will say, hey, say you send out a house at $100,000, and your buyer's like, I like it, but I need it for 80. And you're like, okay, you'll take it at 80. I'll take it at 80. So then I go back and I renegotiate with my real estate agent, and I say, hey, I can't do this unless it's 70. And then they go do their talking to the seller, and then they're like, okay, the seller agreed to 70, and they send me the document to amend price and do the things, and I sign it. And then I call my buyer, and they stop answering the phone. Ghost. They disappear. And I'm like, hold on a second now. You told me you take it at 80. I went and negotiated this thing down to 70, and you're nowhere to be found.
So get the commitment.
Get the commitment. Get their EMD in hand. You got to get them to sign an assignment. Even though the price will be different from your original contract, I always send my buyer an assignment saying, okay, I'm going to go to bat for you and renegotiate this contract to get you a better price. I'm sending you a contract right now at 80 grand. Please send in the EMD. If I can't renegotiate it, I'll refund your EMD, and you won't have to perform on the contract. Yeah. But I need you locked in order for me to go renegotiate on your behalf. And then that way I'm not renegotiating and then letting people down. I know I've got all the pieces and all the parties locked in, and then I go in for my renegotiation.
Yeah, I love that, Jamil. Guys, keep in mind here, renegotiating should be the exception, not the rule.
Right.
You want to do everything in your power to not renegotiate. You want to make sure you're contracting your original offer is a good offer. And the only time you really should be renegotiating is if new information comes to light during your inspection time. Something you didn't know about, like, I didn't realize it had a foundation issue that was never disclosed to me or whatever. Because no one likes to be renegotiated. And remember, with agents, we're playing the long game. It's about the relationship. As soon as an agent feels like you're playing games where you're coming in high, you're renegotiating lower, and that's your tactic, if they think at all that that's your strategy, you're out. They're never going to call you again, because they don't look good going back to a seller and asking for a lower price. Nobody feels good about that. Nobody likes that. That needs to be like the last ditch effort, not your game plan.
Yeah.
And I talk about this a lot, Jamil, in my content, because that's actually a strategy with a lot of wholesalers. They contract at whatever price. They don't even care. Whatever the seller says, they contract at it. They string them along. U-Haul's in the driveway on the day of closing, and then they hit them up for renegotiation when they know they're desperate. Like, this is that's just so dirty and scummy and douchey. Like, don't do that.
Yep.
And it won't work on market. You won't get away with it.
No.
You might get away with it once, and that agent's never calling you again.
True.
Okay.
Yep.
So keep that in mind always with renegotiating. Okay. What about this one, Jamil? Hey, Jerry, I'm 18 years old. Just started calling agents after learning about wholesale a couple months. I was wondering how you can make all these calls to agents about listings without actually going in person to see them. If you go in person to see the listing, wouldn't that take up too much time if you had to repeatedly do that? Okay, so sight unseen offers, Jamil. How do we handle that?
Well, I only do sight unseen offers. I actually refuse to visit a property, even if I live in the city where the property is located. For me, I refuse to go. And this is what I say to the agent. I say, look, you've done a terrific job of providing pictures of the property, and I've done so many of these that I'm really good at my estimates. And so I have unless you've missed something or you're hiding something in the photos, which I don't think you would. After talking to you, you seem like an incredibly ethical person. Nothing, I don't feel like there's anything that I'd have to worry about. So it doesn't make sense for me to take all of my people off a project and have them come view a home before I have the property under contract. It just doesn't make economic sense for me to do that. So Let's get the property under contract first. Then I'll bring myself and all my people to the property so we can inspect it.
Yeah, perfect. Here's another way this happens. Agents will say, have you seen the property? And why they're asking that is they want to know if you're making a sight unseen offer. And the reason why they're asking that, guys, is because they have concerns about the legitimacy of who you are.
Yep.
Are you a legit buyer? Why would you make an offer on a property you haven't seen? In their mind, that's what they're thinking. So just like Jamil, the way I'll say this, Jamil, is I'll say, no, I haven't seen the property. My offer is solely based off of the pictures, but we've been doing this long enough to know what the numbers are. Let me ask you, agent, is there something else going on with this property not reflected in the pictures that I should know about? Now you're putting it back on them. You're saying to them, I don't need to go see it unless you're asking me this because there's something else going on that you're hiding.
Right.
And I don't say it quite like that. I say it in a nicer way, right? I'll say, is there something else going on that's not visible in the pictures? And they're going to be like, no, it's, I'll say, okay, well then, based on everything I'm looking at, I'm pretty solid on my numbers. Now, we will do a walkthrough once we're under contract with some due diligence, just to make sure there's nothing scary going on, like a foundation or something that we're not aware of. We will do that, but we don't do that until after we have an executed contract. And when you explain it that way, most agents are like, okay, I get it. That makes sense. Why would they go look at it? It's a cash offer. It needs work. They already know it needs work. So you just have to respond with the right language. And these are very easy things to overcome. I don't think, Jamil, I've ever had a situation where I wasn't able to still make my offer sight unseen because I hadn't seen the property. I'm almost always able to overcome that.
Every time. I have yet after, you've done thousands of flips. I've wholesaled over 7,000 properties myself. I have never been forced, and I've never lost a deal because I wouldn't go see the house. I've always been able to maneuver that conversation. So
yeah,
you guys can do this. You guys can do this.
It's
the tone. It's the tone and how you say it.
Yeah.
You've got to sound confident. Mm-hmm. And I think Jerry's right. If they're asking you about, what, they don't believe you. They don't think you're a legitimate investor. And that's what they're questioning sometimes when they're really asking those kinds of questions. So your tone, your confidence is important.
Yeah. Now you will run into situations where there are no pictures, and that creates a little bit of a tricky situation because you have no idea on condition. And the way I'll overcome that is I'll say, look, we factored in a number that would cover pretty much doing everything that needs to be done. Then I'd say, is there something going on here that's really big and scary?
Yeah, is there a fire or
is there a foundation issue? Is there fire damage? Is there something scary going on? Because my offer is budgeting to go in there and fix everything. So I really don't care what the kitchen's like. We've already factored in redoing the kitchen. So I really don't need to see it. But if you've got some pictures, that'd be fantastic. Can you send those over to me? You just work through it. It's okay. You can work through it.
Yep.
Okay. This is a great question here, Jamil. What about a home if it's out of state? How would you set up the showing with the buyer and the agent? And I think, Jamil, this question would be once you get the deal and you want to send cash buyers, and this isn't really an out-of-state thing. This is even if it's your backyard. Mm-hmm. How do you organize to get your buyers in there when there's an agent involved on the front end? And this is this can be tricky for some people. They get tripped up on this one.
So it depends on if the house is vacant or not, right? So if the house is vacant, I will typically say to the agent, hey, look, since the house is vacant, I've got trades that come in and out at all different times. For instance, like my tilers they're in my house. They're working in my houses almost all day, and they're going to go out and give me a bid at like 11, 12 at night. That's just what time they can get out and do it. And so what would be really better for everybody is if you could put a little mechanical lockbox on the property. Or if not, I can even come out there and get a mechanical lockbox on the property and handle that so that we can just get in and out whenever. And if they say no to that, right? If they're like, no, I'm sorry, I can't put a mechanical lockbox on it. I have to be present for the showing. Say, okay, no problem. So just so you're aware, then I'm going to have to get a lot of people in together and probably do multiple showings. So I hope you know that's just how I'm going to have to roll with it. And then I will send a task rabbit. I will send a friend. I will send boots on the ground
to the showing.
and I will have them. And I always preface, or I prep my boots on the ground or my showing people how to do that, how to manage a showing on a lawn, right? Because guys, you got to tell them the rules of the game. You got to explain to the buyers. Always get to a showing early. That's rule number one. Don't show up to a showing if you're sending a boots on the ground to a showing, or if you're going to show a property that's being managed by an agent in your own home, like in your own area. Always get to a showing 15 minutes early, because your buyers will get there early sometimes, and they'll play funny games. So get there early, and then I will instruct my buyer to have a conversation with me off the property, and I will say, hey, look, we're going to walk through. These are the rules. I don't want you having any conversations with the homeowner. Please don't have any communication with the agent. If you have any questions at all about the property, hold those questions until we all have walked the property, and then we exit, and then you can ask me any questions you want. Any questions you want. Do you understand how we have to do this? Okay, cool. We're in agreement. Let's go. And so I do that before we walk the house. So they know the rules of the game, and I ain't playing on those rules. And you know what? I've never had really, there's been one or two guys that have been a little strange over thousands of property showings. But for the most part, when you give them the rules of the game, they follow.
Yeah. Now, what about if it's occupied?
Now, if it's owner occupied, like tenant or owner occupied?
Tenant or owner, someone's living in the home. How do you handle showings then?
Oh, man. So I call it the cinnamon bun approach, okay? Mm-hmm. So I get there early, and I come with a box of Cinnabon or like some kind of a treat, and I go to the homeowner and I say, hey, how you doing? I'm the guy who's coming in with some of my people. I brought you a treat, and I hope you like sugar. If you want, it might be easier if you left for the next 20 minutes so that we can just kind of, so we're not bumping into each other and like getting in your way. And then right before I leave, I can let you know that I've left. Now, usually showing up with that cinnamon bun and then asking them to leave works. But if they won't leave, they're happy anyways, because you gave them a treat and they're not going to get in your way. So that has always worked for me. What's been your approach?
Yeah, I'll do something very similar where ahead of time, we'll preface to that owner or tenant, hey, we're going to be coming in with a small army, contractors, investors, partners, and it would be best if we could just be able to look around, And so I've actually got a $50 gift card for you, or $100 gift card for you. Why don't you go shopping for the afternoon? It's on us. And you're trying to get them out of the house, right? Like similar idea. You want to try to placate them. But here's one tip I would give, Jamil, whether it's vacant or occupied, you want to get in writing in your offer how showings are going to be handled. So if it's vacant, I put in my offer sheet, I give the agent who's going to write the contract for you. It says, if it's vacant, you'll say, seller gives unrestricted access to property via a lockbox. If it's occupied, it'll say, seller agrees to give buyer access to property with 24-hour notice. And now the reason why that's got to be in writing is because if it's not in writing, then the seller could be difficult, not let you in the property, and you can't show it. And now you got a big mess on your hands because you can't get your buyers in there.
Yep. Big time. That, guys, write that one down if you didn't write, because Jerry is absolutely correct. Get it in the contract. And when the agent, as somebody said, would somebody find that suspicious? Not at all. In fact, that's a pretty unfettered access is a standard request. It only becomes problematic when you're in the escrow and things start to get like, for instance, if you show up with a small army and it pisses the seller off for whatever reason, right? They're like, oh, they all came through here. There was a whole bunch of them and they were all brown guys. I don't know, whatever it was, right? So they're mad. They're mad about it. And then the next time you want to get in, they're like, no. Hold on a second, Mr. Seller or Miss Seller. You said in the contract, we agreed unfettered access for inspections. And so I'm sorry, but we're going to need to come in and see the house. You'll be in breach of contract if you don't give us access. So you really, really, really want that in writing. I think that, like, don't sleep on that note.
It'll save a lot of problems. And the other one is this question here by Samuel Borges.
What's
in
up,
the
Sam?
comments. Yeah, pull that one up, Bobby. He says, how would you make sure to use your preferred title company on an on-market deal rather than the agent's usual title company? Now, guys, this is one that comes up almost every time because agents love to use their title company because they have a relationship. They know the closing agent. Sometimes they're getting a referral fee for transactions. Like, I've seen agents push really hard to use their title company. And so this is a stickler for me, Jamil. I'm not sure how you handle it, but I make sure in writing that in the contract, it says seller agrees to close with buyer's title of choice.
Yep.
And the only time I'll make an exception is if the title company that the agent wants to use is wholesaler friendly and I know them. And I'm like, oh, I'm okay to close with them because I know they're good with wholesaling.
Yep.
But if it's a title company I've never used before, I don't want to be closing with a title company that's going to give me a hard time about doing assignments.
No, never. And 100%, Jerry. I fight for it, even if I know that the title company is wholesaler friendly. If the agent is insisting on it, or if the agent slipped in that title company, then I feel like the agent has a close relationship with that title company, and I'm going to lose control. Or they're going to give too much information, or they're not going to be as third party as I want them to be. And in the reality is that buyer decides. I'm the one who writes the offer. I get to decide what the title company is. That's the fact. And so when an agent's being weird about it, say, I'm sorry, but because I have to pay the title fees, I want to use my title company. Now, if they say, but why? I say, here's the reason why. I do a lot of transactions, and I'm not going to chase a settlement statement or policy or any documents that I need at tax time from multiple different title companies all over the city. I just won't do that. I've learned after doing this for long enough that I keep all of my transactions at one title company, because when it comes time for tax time, I know where all of my HUDs are.
Yep. That's awesome. That's a great explanation.
Yep.
I really like that. I'm going to start using that one. Yeah. Like you could say, hey, I've had other title companies. They send me the settlement statement 5 minutes before closing. We're rushing around. They don't communicate well. And we do multiple transactions, and we just can't have a title company that we don't have a relationship with, that we know it does a good job.
Yep. That's
it. And when you hold firm on that, I don't know that I've ever had an agent like kill the deal over it.
Only time I've ever had like pushback where I had to acquiesce was the following circumstances: a trust, and the property was being sold by a trust, and all of the trust documents were already at a title company, and it was already approved, and they had already verified who all the beneficial parties of the trust are. And then if there was a probate, it's already opened at this title company because the property's in probate, and they've already started the probate process. Those are the only times I've ever acquiesced title company, because actually I know moving the title company would blow the deal.
Yeah.
And so
I've had that with some bank properties too, where the banks they don't care.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go with their non-title company. Right.
Right. So, and so then I just factor in transactional funding, or, and now I know I have an extra expense on this deal. Okay, cool.
And you're prepared. Now you're prepared for who knows what's going to happen with this title company. Right. But you go in with your eyes open. Sharon Lee Smith says, but sellers have the right to use their own and split closings. That's true unless your contract states otherwise. And that's why we get in writing, seller agrees to use buyer's title of choice. That supersedes the seller's right to use their own title company. You do not want to be closing with two different title companies. What a mess trying to wholesale.
Yeah.
So you're just going to introduce all kinds of problems that you don't need to have in your transaction. So you're right, Sharon, and just make sure you get it in writing that the seller agrees to do your title company.
Now, I just want to ask, because we've got a few minutes left here, who here would think they would benefit from being on the phone for a few days, talking to agents over and over and over again, and have real time instruction from Jerry and I while you were on the phone actually having those calls? If you think you would benefit from that, I want you to put an A in the chat for agent. Put an A in the chat. If you think you would benefit from real time. Like you say some dumb shit, Jerry's like, that was dumb. No, but I mean it. Like we literally would tell you the words, give you the appropriate instruction. If you think you would benefit from that, put an A in the chat. I want to see how many of you guys would benefit from that.
I want to add another thought to this, Jamil. I mean, what's that quote? Proximity to power, or being in a room that's a powerhouse room. Guys, just coming and spending 2-3 days with Jamil and I, being in this close-knit environment, talking about how we've built multi-million-dollar businesses, being around other people building, successful businesses, you will come out of that with a different energy, a different mindset, an entirely different, you're going to level up like you've never leveled up. You're going to be creating a game plan for yourself, a blueprint and a roadmap that you don't have right now, even if you're already doing deals. You're going to come away from this if you're part of this small group, and you're going to be at a whole nother level, and you're going to look back on that, and you're going to look at that moment in time as a pivotal time where everything in your life changed. And I believe that wholeheartedly, because Jamil and I both have seen that happen. Yep. This is not like a normal event. This is workshop boot camp style. This is down in the nitty gritty, right? Like Jamil said, this is on the phones doing the business. This isn't theory. This isn't abstract. If you want theory and abstract, go watch our masterclass where we break down these ideas. This is actually doing it.
Yep. For all of you that typed A, there is a link right now in the chat to get more details to joining Jerry and I. Guys, it's very small group. So we had, I don't know, over 100 people comment A in the chat. Okay.
Amazing.
We won't be able to fit more than 15 or 20 of you into this group. So you guys can understand now that this is going to be very exclusive, very small, and very hands-on. So do yourself a favor, get more details, join Jerry and I. We are going to be with you live on the phone, workshopping with you. By the time you leave, you will be as good as Jerry Norton, as good as Jamil Damji on the phone, going direct to agent. The ROI on this kind of training is, I mean, like we said, this is $1 million blueprint. It's $1 million lead generation technique. And we're going to have a great time in Puerto Rico teaching it to you. So jerryandjamil.com, make sure you guys learn more about it.
And Jamil, there's still probably dozens of questions here. Guys, we're about out of time here. Both Jamil and I got to run, but keep asking questions, keep doing the work, keep doing the business. Maybe Jamil, we can carve out some time between now and the live Puerto Rico event to do this again if we can.
Yeah. Would you guys like us to do this? Maybe another 1 or 2 times before the event, so you guys can, get a little bit more hands-on-y with us and see what the vibe is between Jerry and I. Plus, don't you guys think it would be a lot of fun? How much are we gonna laugh while we're learning?
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. So,
honestly, Jamil, I laugh. I don't think I laugh more with another person than Jamil Damji. I just have so much fun with you, Jamil. And
thank you, brother.
And thank you for bringing the fun to this game. Sometimes it's stressful, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's a grind, right? Sometimes it's, oh man, I got to talk to another person. And I love how you bring so much fun to what we do and make it so enjoyable. So guys, we're gonna have a lot of fun too.
Awesome. jerryandjamil.com. We will see you guys in Puerto Rico. And yeah, Jerry, you look great. Don't miss this.
Yeah. Awesome, Jamil. Can't wait to see you. And guys, be sure to come hang out with us Monday in Phoenix for Wholesale Hotline Live, taco truck or food trucks. And it's going to be a great reunion. Can't wait to spend some time with you, Jamil.
Love you guys. Peace.
All right. See you guys.